Let's look at the demonstration. I'm going to show that this system knows pretty much nothing at this moment, and we are going to give it information for the first time. And to make sure that it learned that information, we are going to ask questions about it. I need to add some classifiers to the information I am entering, because I am not using any natural language processing whatsoever. But the bottom line is that I am telling the system that John bought this car from Fred. Secondly, I am telling that Fred sold the car to Anna. And to demonstrate that the learning took place, we will be asking questions that require relating these pieces of information. If I ask the system, where did John buy his car? There is no answer because I haven't told it yet. So there's no way this could be answered at this point. What I want you to know is I am going to tell the system this missing piece of information that is going to allow it to answer this question. I'm going to tell him that Anna bought her car in Lisbon. So the next time we ask, where did John buy his car? There is already a possible answer to that, which is Lisbon. Why? Because John bought his car to Fred, who in turn sold the car to Anna, and Anna bought her car in Lisbon. And this is the answer it can give. As demonstrated here, there was a learning that took place, because the pieces of information that it learned before were related in a way that allowed it to answer the question. We can get into the details of how it arrived at that answer, but I will not be covering that at this moment. The point is just that any response is humanly understandable and auditable. Of course, the meaning of an answer will depend mostly on the meaning of the question and the meaning of the data that is in the system. Now, I added the last piece of information, which is more specific to answer the question, and that states clearly that John bought his car in Boston. So now the answer should be different. And the first answer was Boston, and the second Lisbon. This is a priority between the fitness of the responses. The first one is the most likely correct answer, and that is Boston, which is correct. As we saw, the features of learning are accomplished here. The system acquired new information. It preserved its information. It related information to answer the questions, and it changed its behavior when faced with new data. We can ask several questions at once. As said before, the meaning of those will depend, and the system will relate that information it knows to give us the most simple answers it can find to those questions. When we are asking questions, we enter two kinds of information. The question, for which we want a response, which in this case was what, did, and who, and other pieces of information that give a context for the answers we are looking for. So if, for instance, the answers we get do not match our expectation, we probably should add more pieces of information to direct the system to the answers we are looking for. In this case, I just gave it the context that was Fred. To get a more meaningful answer, I should add more information about Fred in my question. Now we are going to do the exact same thing as before, but this time we already have a lot of information that was previously learned. This is so we can get a comparison between the two different situations, and it will allow us to know what is the impact of previous learning on the current performance of the system. This time, as you see, we have more than 4,000 nodes, which are geometric units in the database. And this means that we exponentially increase the complexity of the landscape we are navigating in. With the traditional methods that are available to perform these kinds of tasks, we would expect that it will take exponentially more time to arrive at the answers. As you will see, that's not what happens here. It takes some time, but not that long. As you can see, although the complexity of the landscape we are navigating in increased exponentially, we still had an answer in a logarithmic timescale. And you can't possibly get any better than this. Certainly, it is impossible to achieve these results with any of the currently available methods. We are now refining the search. We will see that we'll get more answers. In fact, there can be an infinite number of answers in a scenario like this. It gave us thousands of other possible answers, and it resorted them, it updated their priority, always respecting that principle which is, we're looking for the most simple answer to any question. As you can see, this was done in a reasonable time frame considering the complexity of the landscape we are navigating. There is an almost infinite number of relationships you can establish between this amount of data, and as you can see, we are performing at a reasonable time frame. Now I'm going to teach the system the same information as before, but this time I want to make sure that I will be relating this information with the existing one. And this is why I will be adding more pieces of information that I am sure already exist in the database. So again, I am telling the system that John bought his car from Fred. And I am adding this piece of information to make sure there will be a connection with existing information. because the database we are using this time was built at random. This also shows that there was no preconditioning whatsoever. I did not control the data that was put in the database, and I have no idea of the kind of relationships I'm establishing at the moment with that data. So we added the first piece of information. Again, we are going to ask where did John buy his car. As you can see, the new information is there. As before, if I ask it where did John buy his car, there should be no answer because it is still not possible to give that answer. Same result as before. But here notice that it didn't take any time at all for us to know that there was no answer. And this is also something you can't achieve with the current available methods. Another piece of information, which is that Anna bought her car in Lisbon. So when I again ask when did John buy his car, this time there is a connection that can be established, and that connection will be Lisbon. This time, comparing with the previous scenario, it takes a bit more time to arrive at an answer. And that is because, as mentioned, this data is highly connected with everything else that was already learned. But it didn't take that much longer to get the correct answer. Now the last piece of information, which is an explicit indication of when John bought his car. Making sure everything is there. The last question here, and now the answer is Boston. You see, it didn't take long for the system to adapt its response to the new fact that it learns. And this happens while already knowing much more information than this. So, as you can see, this had little impact on the performance and the quality of the responses. A last example to show you a very different kind of information. In this case, taken from a medical textbook. Notice that this information was introduced in the same format it was in the book. And this is relevant because it shows that no special processing of the information is needed. Here I am going to ask several questions and give it a little context. I'm going to ask about diagnostics, symptoms and exams, and I will give as context two pieces of information. Distal vessels, which is an anatomical concept, Doppler, which is an exam, and epigastric. As you see, it didn't take long to get more than 200 possible answers. And you have a relationship between those three things I asked the system for. We can refine the search, and it will give us more answers, if they are available, and resort them to focus on the most simple ones.